The wizarding world is filled with heroes, villains, and those who stand somewhere in between. But behind every wand, every spell, and every choice lies a personal darkness. Today, we explore the hidden, painful, and often tragic shadow buried inside 8 iconic Harry Potter characters. 1. Harry Potter, the darkness of trauma, anger, and the weight of destiny. Harry Potter carries darkness that began long before Voldemort. Years of emotional neglect at the Dursleys' house shape a boy who grows up without affection, without safety, without a sense of belonging. He learns to survive through silence, obedience, and internalized fear. This unresolved trauma builds a quiet rage inside him, a rage he doesn't understand and often cannot control. At Hogwarts, he becomes a symbol rather than a child, admired and judged in equal measure. Expectations crush him. He is treated as a savior, a leader, even a weapon. The connection with Voldemort slowly merges his consciousness with violence and hatred. Harry begins experiencing intrusive thoughts, violent impulses, and visions soaked in blood and death, none of which are his own, yet all of which feel intimately familiar. After Sirius's death, his anger explodes. He screams at Dumbledore, isolates himself from his friends, and starts questioning everyone's motives. His darkest moment isn't facing Voldemort, it's facing himself, realizing he is capable of cruelty, of hatred, and of wanting revenge. Harry's darkness is the unbearable truth that even the Chosen One is shaped by pain, fear, and a destiny he never agreed to. His heroism is not purity, it is the decision to rise above the darkness he constantly carries inside. 2. Hermione Granger, the tyranny of logic, control, and intellectual dominance. Hermione Granger's darkness is subtle but profound. She grows up as the outsider, too smart, too intense, too eager to be perfect. When she enters the wizarding world, she discovers she is a minority, a muggle born in a society filled with prejudice. This triggers a deep survival instinct. She must be the best, smarter, faster, more disciplined, just to be respected. Her brilliance isn't simply a gift, it's armor. Hermione's darkest actions reveal how fragile her need for order truly is. She illegally manipulates time with a time turner, alters memories, traps Rita Skeeter in a jar, hexes anyone who threatens her vision of what is right, and sometimes treats rules as weapons. Her decision to erase her parents' memories, though born of love, demonstrates godlike control over the lives of others. She also develops moral absolutism, believing she is the only one capable of making the correct choice. When chaos arises during the Horcrux hunt, she becomes emotionally rigid, unable to cope with unpredictability, and increasingly authoritarian in her decisions. Hermione's darkness is not evil. It is the belief that intellect justifies control, that logic outweighs emotion, and that she must shape reality when it refuses to behave. She fights for justice, but often through actions that resemble those of the very oppressors she resists. 3. Ron Weasley, the darkness of jealousy, self-loathing, and emotional fragility. Ron Weasley's shadow comes from a lifetime of feeling like an afterthought. He grows up surrounded by extraordinary siblings, Quidditch heroes, prefects, dragon tamers, curse breakers. He enters Hogwarts and immediately becomes best friends with the boy who lived and the brightest witch of her age. Constant comparison corrodes his self-worth. Ron's jealousy is not superficial. It is rooted in a structural belief that he is undeserving, unexceptional, and replaceable. This festers into bitterness that erupts during vulnerable moments. Jealousy over Hermione and Victor Krum, resentment toward Harry's fame, and explosive anger during the Horcrux hunt. The locket doesn't create this darkness. It merely exposes what Ron already fears most. His breakdown and departure reveal a painful truth. Ron's worst enemy has always been himself. He longs for recognition, affection, and purpose, yet constantly fears he cannot earn them. Ron's darkness lies in emotional fragility, fear of abandonment, fear of failure, and the belief that love is something he must compete for. His journey is not about defeating external threats, but about learning to value himself at all. 4. Albus Dumbledore, the darkness of power, manipulation, and moral calculation. Dumbledore is one of the most brilliant wizards ever, but brilliance often walks hand in hand with danger. As a young man, he is seduced by grand ideas, dominance for the greater good, reshaping society and leading wizardkind toward a utopia defined by his vision. His relationship with Grindelwald ignites his latent hunger for power. Though he eventually rejects these ideals, the desire to control does not leave him. It simply becomes more subtle. Dumbledore manipulates people with gentle words and careful lies, constructing a chess game in which he positions individuals as pieces. He withholds critical information from Harry, ensures Snape remains emotionally bound to guilt, uses Hagrid's loyalty, and lets Sirius rot in misery. He allows Harry to grow up abused, rationalizing it as necessary for the blood protection charm. Every decision is wrapped in kindness, but rooted in cold strategy. His darkest trait is his ability to view people as means rather than ends. Dumbledore's darkness does not come from hatred. It comes from love for a world he wants to protect so desperately that he is willing to break people to do it. He burdens himself with guilt, yet continues to orchestrate. He is the mastermind no one chose but everyone depends on. 5. Severus Snape, the darkness of obsession, self-hatred, and internalized cruelty. Snape's life is shaped by suffering, a violent home, social rejection, humiliation at Hogwarts, and the painful realization that the one person he loves will never love him back. This emotional void twists into bitterness, which he channels into cruelty against others. His joining the Death Eaters is not ideological. It is the appeal of belonging, power, and revenge against a world that mocked him. Even after switching sides, Snape remains tormented. His love for Lily transforms into an obsession so powerful it dictates every decision he makes. Yet he never becomes a healed, gentle person. Instead, he becomes cold, vindictive, and emotionally stunted. He bullies students, especially those who reflect his own weaknesses. Neville, who is timid, Harry, who reminds him of James, and others who trigger memories of his past helplessness. Snape's darkness is not his allegiance, it is his inability to forgive anyone, including himself. His heroism is tragic because it is fueled by guilt and obsession, not love or redemption. Snape never escapes his trauma, he simply weaponizes it. 6. Lord Voldemort, the darkness of emotional void, ego, and the horror of inhumanity. Voldemort's darkness is absolute because it is built on the absence of human qualities. Born without love and raised without warmth, Tom Riddle learns early that manipulation is more effective than connection. He despises weakness, views affection as pathetic, and sees death as an enemy to be conquered. His obsession with immortality is not ambition, it is terror. Voldemort cannot tolerate the thought of being insignificant, forgotten, or powerless. This fear drives him to split his soul, over and over, until he becomes less a person and more a shadow. He sees people only as pawns, worshippers, tools, sacrifices. His inability to understand love is not a flaw, it is a void, a space where humanity should be. His darkness isn't just evil, it's existential emptiness. Voldemort shows the terrifying possibility of what happens when a soul rejects every form of human connection. 7. Draco Malfoy, the darkness of indoctrination, fear, and identity crisis. Draco's darkness is born long before he makes a single choice. Raised in a house where blood purity, dominance, and elitism are core values, he becomes the product of generational prejudice. But beneath the arrogance is a fragile boy desperate for approval, especially from his father. When Voldemort forces him to kill Dumbledore, Draco faces a psychological collapse. The boy who mocked others suddenly becomes the victim of the ideology he once parroted. He cannot kill, cannot flee, cannot resist. He is trapped in the role society created for him. Draco's darkness is not cruelty but cowardice, mixed with indoctrinated beliefs he no longer fully believes. He spirals into fear, guilt, and self-loathing. His arc is the tragedy of a child raised to be a villain, who discovers too late that he never wanted the role. 8. Bellatrix Lestrange, the darkness of fanaticism, devotion, and violent ecstasy. Bellatrix's darkness is extreme because it is rooted in fanatic devotion. From childhood, she is raised in pure-blood superiority, but Voldemort becomes her religion. She does not follow him for ideology. She worships him. Her violence is theatrical, ecstatic, almost sexual. She tortures, kills, and destroys not out of necessity, but joy. Her cruelty is unrestrained, her faith absolute. She abandons her family, her humanity, and her sanity to become Voldemort's most loyal servant. Bellatrix's darkness is the terrifying possibility of losing oneself entirely in devotion to a cause, a leader, or a god. She becomes the embodiment of madness fueled by purpose, a purpose she never questions. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the darker sides of Star Wars characters, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. May the Force be with you, always.